we're going to get Bitcoin to work with Cardano. And we'll be there at May 2025 at Bitcoin 2025.
May 2025 is going to be huge for Cardano, and it seems big players are already betting on ADA. Don't let today's market dip shake you out. Check this. Cardano ADA records the highest institutional inflows over the past month. It is the only altcoin that surpassed the institutional inflow to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. So Cardano and the ADA token actually had one of the most unexpected comebacks that we've seen during recent months, accounting for the rough time that altcoins have had, because it looked like for a while that it was actually dying a slow death as a project. There was just not much that was exciting about Cardano for a long time. However, all of a sudden, things took a different turn, and Cardano managed to get back into the spotlight, and probably more importantly, has managed to stay there. It's all of a sudden prominent once again, and it's getting a lot of attention. The price of ADA went from 24 cents to $1.23 in December, just a few months ago, and there is reason to believe that there's a lot of runway left for Cardano in this cycle. We are deep diving into ADA, into Cardano, and giving you our honest thoughts about what's next for this legacy crypto project. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie, and this is Altcoin Buzz. All the best of luck if you choose to invest, whether that's ADA or otherwise. I wish you well. Just remember that I'm not a financial or investment advisor, and that means, by extension, that this video is not official financial or investment advice. So like I said, Cardano has been flying high recently. Really, ever since November 2024, a few months ago, ADA has really seen a lot of upward price appreciation. Now, the local or temporary high it hit was $1.23. That was in early December 2024. The current price of ADA is lower. Here it is on screen. But I think it's important to note that it's still above where it was kind of going along sideways for years, just in a very unimpressive pattern at about the 35-cent range. So we're about double where we were during that multi-year phase, which at the very least is positive. And honestly, the fact that we saw this upward shift in price in November, starting in November, is no coincidence, because prior to November 2024, Charles Hoskinson, the CEO of Cardano, said that Bitcoin could die. He actually even compared it to a religion instead of an ecosystem, and that made a lot of people pretty upset, as you can probably imagine. However, not too long after that, Hoskinson actually did a complete 180 and started to show his support for Bitcoin. Not only that, but actually the whole Cardano chain turned Bitcoin in a way, so to speak. And that's because Cardano should become a layer 2 for Bitcoin. This is great news for DeFi, for Bitcoin, and of course for Cardano. But before we get into this specifically, I want to first take a look at the transaction systems that both platforms use. And the comparison is appropriate here because they're both based on UTXO. That stands for unspent transaction output. So it's a system that tracks balances in both Bitcoin and Cardano, meaning that your wallet doesn't have one single balance. Instead, it has various smaller unspent outputs from earlier transactions. And besides tracking balances, it also prevents double spending. Let's consider how this works here. Each transaction creates a new UTXO. That's the amount that you received. And then when you spend this crypto, you select the UTXO as an input. However, the transaction also created a new output UTXO. That is your remaining balance. If nothing else, just keep in mind that this is an important feature that both projects share. There's a lot of common ground, and they overlap in their design, meaning that it's not too difficult to hook Cardano up to Bitcoin. Let's consider what that means because it is very significant. This spotlight video is sponsored by Walrus protocol, which has the fastest solution for data storage on the market today. And of course, it's from the team behind Sui. And it's a potential Filecoin killer because it does, quite frankly, a lot of things that Filecoin cannot. One thing is that it's so resilient that even with only a few nodes operating, your data availability won't be affected. Decentralized data storage on Walrus is solving a pretty big problem that many blockchains suffer from. That's poor coordination, and it affects you more than you may realize. Walrus protocol has some pretty big advantages with Sui and the Move programming language over other decentralized data providers. The problem, as they see it, is coordination. That's making sure if a protocol does three things, that those things work seamlessly with each other. Also, the protocol needs to work with other projects in the ecosystem and with the blockchain infrastructure, like validators. Listen to SWE co-founder here, Adeneyin Abiodun, describe the problem and how Walrus is part of the solution.
The best platform for you to use to solve your coordination problem, because it comes with a lot of features that you already need out of the box, is SWE. And that's not just because, you can write a smart contract and it does stuff. That's one thing, of course, right? But also if we take the example, let's say again, of Walrus, even the things that are not in SWE, right? Let's say the storage nodes that are separate from SWE, they still need to coordinate with each other. And our best bet, we believe, is to coordinate through SWE, right? To say, well, look, okay, we're all going to be reading and writing state from SWE, doing transactions, reading state, expressing things as resources when it makes sense, and that drives effectively that off-chain infrastructure.
Right now, Walrus is finishing up its testnet. The mainnet and the WAL token launch are coming soon. If you want to stay updated on the latest testnet progress and other news, make sure to follow Walrus Protocol's X account and all the other appropriate socials. So Bitcoin lacks an efficient and secure infrastructure for its DeFi. As you may know, Bitcoin doesn't support smart contracts. However, Cardano does. And that's why this team up is so significant. It brings Bitcoin's liquidity and Cardano's smart contracts together. So in a way, this would make Cardano a layer 2 on top of Bitcoin. But that's not to say that Cardano is going to stop being a layer 1 chain, because specifically Cardano is going to create UTXO-enabled interoperability. Cardano will work alongside Bitcoin, and so both networks are going to get the best of each other's strongest points. This would make Bitcoin more versatile and also a lot more user-friendly. Plus, there's also a lot of liquidity on Bitcoin that can be more efficiently used with this kind of setup. And then this liquidity can now also flow into the Cardano ecosystem. To enable all of this, there is the Sundial platform. Now, this is a work in progress, but Sundial offers a hybrid layer 2 solution. There's also going to be a Bitcoin OS Grail bridge that's going to be known as the BOS bridge, which will allow Cardano to sign Bitcoin transactions with ADA as gas fee. And that is massive news. The Bitcoin OS Grail bridge uses ZK proofs. And that's a first for the Bitcoin mainnet. ZK, of course, stands for zero knowledge, which just means that you can verify transactions in a secure way without divulging sensitive information. So all of this combined, if you take it all together, really does have great implications for crypto. For example, we can see certainly increased utility. Besides holding or trading BTC, users are going to find new use cases, especially in DeFi, by the way. Also, Cardano's growth is going to benefit probably in a big way, because the Bitcoin integration will likely bring more users and developers into the Cardano ecosystem. Just Bitcoin's liquidity alone becoming available on Cardano itself is such a massive deal. And then also interoperability, because we have two big networks here starting to collaborate with each other rather than competing with each other. Collaboration over competition. This is a good thing. All of this can happen as early as May 2025. Cardano is also working on integrating Hydra. And with that, we're talking over 1 million transactions per second with the Bitcoin Lightning Network. And so bringing Cardano as a layer 2 to Bitcoin can actually be bigger than the Taproot upgrade in 2021, for those of you that may remember that. The ADA price, as a consequence, should also see pretty positive price development once all of this goes live. And then other than that, there's also positive stuff that's cooking over at Cardano. Real big news is that NASA is now working with the Cardano Foundation to integrate NASA. This is a cooperation particularly across three main fields. First of all, there's track and trace, which refers to the Tracking and Data Relay Satellite System that's known as TDRSS. Pretty impressive. Also data provenance and satellite data. And then also recently, as we've highlighted, ADA whales have bought 130 million ADA. However, unfortunately, only to sell 100 million ADA again a couple of days later. But still, a delta of 30 million ADA was purchased. So as of this recording, that's all the important stuff. And you should now be up to date with Cardano, especially, and probably most importantly, as far as this video has been concerned, the Cardano and Bitcoin connection. Let me know if you share my opinion, but I really do feel this is going to be huge, just unbelievable potential here with a lot of indirect positive consequences for the rest of crypto. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below, but also don't forget to join the ongoing discussion and very active discussions on both Discord and X. You can find those links in the description of this video below.